Ho ho ho.
Come, all ye faithful.
You want to make sure your loved one who loves to fish has a holly jolly Christmas.
Joyful and triumphant.
So you have someone in your family or friend group that loves to catch fish, and you want to be a good Christmas holiday shopper and get them a gift that'll give them a holly jolly Christmas. But right now, you feel like you know nothing about fishing, you have no clue how to gift shop for that loved one, and you feel like their Christmas is gonna be a ball humbug. Howdy everybody, my name is Tyler Anderson, and the goal of this video is me as a fishing enthusiast. I want to teach you guys and give you guys some knowledge on how to better gift shop for the bass fishermen in your life. So the way that I'm gonna break down this video is in 3 separate categories for the angler in your life. So of course we're gonna have the novice, the beginner angler, someone who has just started to bass fish, may not know a whole lot about lures or about how to catch fish in certain scenarios. And so I wanna have a list of Christmas items catered towards them. The next level is going to be the intermediate level. You know, somebody who has fished for a few years now, has, you know, probably a small collection of fishing lures and rods and reels, but you want to get them some equipment, some clothing and such that can help them get to that next level in terms of their skill level as an angler. And so that's going to be our you know, category number 2. And then category number 3 is going to be your expert. Your fisherman, whether it's your husband, your uncle, or maybe it's your son or daughter who's been bass fishing for their entire life, who is eaten up by the sport, and you know that they are very, very particular about what they want in terms of their fishing gear. And so I want to cater a lot of those things in category 3 specifically for that expert angler. But before we begin, we have a special announcement straight from the North Pole. Papa Elf, come in here.
Hello, Papa Elf here. I just want to let you know that the elves and I have been working very hard this year, making all the lures and rods and reels, and we have sent them all to Tackle Warehouse. We've also got a special link direct from the North Pole down below. Click on that link, it'll take you right to Tackle Warehouse, and they'll ship it to you faster than Santa Claus. Oh, should I say that out loud? Well, Merry Christmas anyway.
Wow, what a pleasure it is to have Papa Elf flying all the way down from the North Pole to give you guys the information. As he mentioned, everything will be linked down below, and I would really appreciate it if you guys would click those links before you guys purchase any of these products. And also, before we get started, share this video on Facebook, text it to your friends, to your uncles, to your aunts, to anybody that you know may be struggling picking out fishing gear for their loved one. It would really help me out a lot if you guys share this video, and hopefully it's informative enough that it'll help them as well. So let's hop into category number 1. I'm gonna have my notepad here just so that I don't forget anything. But category number 1 is the novice angler. With the novice angler, we're gonna focus on, I would say, spreading out your dollars that you spend for Christmas gifts on a broader selection of things. So we're gonna talk about the whole gamut. We're going to talk about rods and reels and baits and line and everything your novice angler might need that they might not have in their fishing arsenal right now. They may not have had so much time yet to gather fishing lures and tons of rods and reels. So we're going to talk about some very basic fishing equipment and technology that can help them level up and become a better angler. And so we're going to talk about rod and reel in every single category, as well as a lot of other things that are going to kind of cross over between categories. But the first thing we're going to talk about is rod and reel. In all 3 of these categories, we're going to talk about a bait caster. I realize that a novice angler may not be throwing a bait caster, and there's a difference. A spinning rod is your more traditional open bail, where you open the bail and you cast and then you reel like this. A bait caster is where you press a button and cast, and then you're responsible for stopping the spool so that it doesn't, what's called backlash. And so I'm gonna say bait caster is the best rod and reel combo for all 3 of these categories, because the more advanced I've gotten in my bass fishing experience, I've realized the bait caster is so much more versatile and can be used for so many more bass fishing applications than a spinning rod can. So if your novice angler doesn't throw a bait caster, it is about time they learn how, and someone is never too young to learn how to throw a bait caster. So I'm going to talk about a very budget rod and reel combo. And a lot of these products that I'm going to talk about are sponsors of my channel here. Sponsors that I use every single day on the water to catch more fish. And I would never tell you guys to buy something that I didn't believe in. If you guys know me as a person, I would never lie to you guys. And so that is why I'm telling you guys products, of course, that are sponsors of the channel. And the first one is Lose. That is the rod and reel company I work with. And I believe that this combo here is a great starting combo for your novice angler. And that is the Lose Classic Pro Reel. Of course, I'm going to have all sorts of B-roll shots from Tackle Warehouse here on the screen. The Classic Pro Reel retails for $59, which as far as baitcasters go is very cheap. You can hardly ever find bait casting reels for less than $50, so $59 for the quality you get for that reel is quite amazing. And then I would pair it with the rod as the TP1 Speed Stick. It is a white rod by Lew's, and it retails at $99. And so for most of these rods and reels, if you don't know what type of length of rod to get, I would say across all categories, a 7-foot medium or 7-foot medium heavy is a great way to go in terms of rods. And then on the reel side, it can get really complicated. You can have all sorts of slow reels, fast reels, it's called gear ratio, or you can have left-handed retrieve or right-handed. And I'm just going to simplify it. I think everybody can use 6:5 to 1 or 6:8 to 1 gear ratios, and anybody can use a right-handed retrieve reel. And so if I'm speaking Chinese to you guys right now and you don't know what I'm talking about, all the products that I talk about, as well as the links I will have in parentheses down below with the products linked, the exact model number that I would recommend for those products. So with rod and reel combo for the novice, I'd say $159 is a great starting price for your novice angler. Now to go along with that rod and reel combo, you need line. And so as a novice, I would almost say you go to Academy, you go to Bass Pro Shops or even Tackle Warehouse, and you buy some cheap monofilament, some $4 or $5 12-pound monofilament, because when someone's learning how to throw a bait caster, they're going to have backlashes. But if you want to get someone some really good line at a good price, I would go with CR Red Label. CR Red Label is a fluorocarbon type of line that sinks and is invisible. And so it has the best qualities, the best of both worlds in terms of fishing lines. And I think Red Label is a great, best bang for your buck you can get for line. And now when it comes to baits, I would say you, instead of focusing as you will, and I'll talk about with the more experienced skill levels, I would say you more use the blanket technique. So you don't spend $20, $30 on a singular lure. You buy lures for $4 or $5, $1.50, because most likely your novice, skill level angler has not collected as many lures, and so the more you can get them that are actually quality lures but at a lower price, the better you will do. And so some that I would suggest are going to be the KVD 1.5 square bill. It is a great size square bill for any angler and really represents a lot of good minnows and forage around the country. You're going to have the KVD popper. It's a great topwater lure. And then everybody needs soft plastic. So you have the Strike King Ocho, which is a soft plastic stick bait, catches fish everywhere. I would go with the 5-inch version. Then you have the Strike King Game Hog, which really catches fish, especially in ponds, and I found gets a lot of bigger bites as well. And to go with those last two, you're going to need hooks and weights. And so I would say you go with a 3/0 or 4/0 Gamakatsu wide gap hook. And of course, I'll have all this linked below, as I mentioned. And then you're going to have some lead weights as well. I use tungsten weights, but they're more expensive. And when you're fishing a Texas rig, you're going to lose that bait every once in a while. And so if you can get a lot of lead weights, I would say 16th ounce and 1/8 ounce are some, two good weight sizes to get your angler to get them started. And when it comes to colors of the soft plastics and in the crankbaits and topwaters, there's a gajillion colors. You're going to look on Tackle Warehouse and say, holy smokes, like what do I do? And really, there's only two main colors you need. If the water they're fishing is generally clear, so I'd say 3-foot visibility or more, up to 10, 20-foot visibility. That's, when you look in the water, how deep can you see? Throw something natural like a green or a watermelon or a brown. So a lot of green colors are very good for clear water. And if the water's dirty, give them something black and blue or what's called chartreuse, a bright yellow or a bright green. And that of course goes for every bait, the square bills, the topwater, and the soft plastics. And the last lure that I think your beginner is going to need is a spinnerbait. A spinnerbait is a great lure that they can just throw out there, wind straight back into the bank or to the boat and catch fish. So I would say you get the Strike King Burner spinnerbait in a 1/2 ounce in some kind of white and bright green or chartreuse color. So now that we've talked about baits, we're going to talk about clothes. This is one thing that I really didn't focus on much growing up. I just kind of wore whatever t-shirt and shorts and jacket I had out in the water. But the more that I've gotten into bass fishing, the more I've realized there's companies out there that are creating incredible technology into fishing clothes, specifically fishing clothes that can keep your angler safe on the water. So if you're a parent watching this and you want to make sure your son is not getting sunburned out in the water and is not getting wet on a cold, rainy day, I would really recommend AFCO clothing. That's the clothing I'm wearing here. I was about to say my hat's AFCO. My hat's not AFCO. But AFCO makes an incredible line of clothing for men, women, and kids. And so I'd say for this skill level, usually you're targeted towards kids in the skill level. Now, you could be shopping for your husband who just got into bass fishing. And so I would say the Samurai 2 is a hooded sun shirt. I believe it has SPF 50. So it's like wearing 50 SPF sunscreen on your arms and your body, and then it also has a hoodie that goes over your hat as well. So I have loved the Samurai line of hooded shirts, and the Samurai 2 is the most recent version they have. Incredibly soft, very, very versatile, and some great colors. One jacket that as we get into winter time and the late winter months, really recommend is the Reaper. The Reaper is an incredible hooded sweatshirt that both has a hood and a buff. So it has, everything you would need to stay warm and stay protected from the sun. And I wear the Reaper, 4 or 5 months of the year. Anytime it's cold and windy, I'm always wearing the Reaper. And if you guys go on AFCO.com during the holiday season, if you're watching this at this time of the year, they have an awesome holiday gift buying guide that can help you guys in case you don't like any of the products that I have linked below. And the last two things I'm going to talk about for the novice angler is a scale and a fishing app that I use. Now the first thing is the scale. I use Connect Scale. It is an incredible Bluetooth fishing scale, incredibly accurate weights that partners with your phone via Bluetooth in order to weigh fish and mark exactly where those fish catches happened, and you can share them on social media from there. So Connect Scale is a super cool platform. As Papa Elf mentioned, I have discount codes for all of these products linked below, including 15% off your Connect Scale with the purchase. And every angler, I don't care what experience level you have, needs to have a scale because you never know when the next time they're going to catch their biggest fish ever. A giant bass is going to be, and I would hate for them to catch it and not know what it weighs to tell their buddies. And the last thing is an app called Bass Forecast. Now, Bass Forecast is an app that I use on my phone that is an algorithm specifically built for bass fishing in the United States that helps bass fishermen understand how weather affects fish behavior. Now, fish, they have tiny little brains, but they are very much affected by how the weather changes throughout the weeks and months and seasons throughout the year. And it tells you on a scale of 1 to 10 how good your fishing day is going to be. And it is then shockingly accurate in my experience. It tells you based on moon phase the peak feeding times, and it tells you bait recommendations to throw on your body of water and locations to throw those baits. So Bass Forecast is an awesome app. It is $10 for the premium version for the year. It's not $10 a month. It is $10 for the year, and they have a 60-day free trial. So it costs you nothing to try it for 60 days. The more you open up Bass Forecast and plan your fishing trips around those ratings for the day, the more you're going to find that it helps you. And so that is what I would say for a novice angler. All those things right there are going to be linked below in the description in chronological order. So now that we've talked about novice, let's move on to the intermediate level. So a lot of the things in these categories are going to overlap, and as we step up in experience level, I'm going to talk about a few more products kind of to add to these lists that can help your angler become better. And so jumping into rod and reel, I would say the reel that your intermediate angler is going to need, they've probably acquired a few more rods and reels than your beginner has, and so for the reel, I would recommend the Speed Spool LFS. It is the classic loose reel. I bet you that almost every bass fisherman out there has used or owns a Speed Spool LFS. And it is just an incredible reel for $100. The amount of technology, dependability, smoothness that Lewis has packed into a $100 bait casting reel is incredible. So that's the reel that I would recommend. And the rod that I would recommend is the TP1 Black. TP1 Black is, I believe I have 8 or 10 of those in my rod and reel arsenal. Me as an expert, I'm not using $300 rods, I'm using a $129 rod. So for $229, you're getting a really, really good combo for your slightly experienced intermediate angler. And as I mentioned before, 6-8 to 1, 7-5 to 1 are two good gear ratios with the right-handed retrieve, and a 7-foot medium heavy or 7-3 medium heavy are two great actions for the rods. So moving on to baits, every skill level uses those novice baits. Everybody uses square bills, everybody uses the Ocho and the Game Hog. Everybody needs more hooks and weights. But I'd say moving on to this next skill level, you're gonna throw lures such as the Outcast Finesse jig, the Outcast Juice jig. A jig takes a little bit more strength on the hook set, and hook set strength just comes with practice as an angler. So if you are an intermediate angler, I'd say getting a jig, maybe the Outcast Heavy Cover Swim Jig would be a great lure for your angler. Let's go with the KVD Sexy Dog. It is a topwater walking bait that is great for the spring and the summertime. It takes a little bit more skill for your angler to work across the top of the water. a deep crankbait, such as the Strike King 5XD or 6XD. If your angler likes to get off the bank into a boat and find some fish on their electronics, I think a deep crankbait in any sort of white or chartreuse, very similar colors to the spinnerbait, as I mentioned, any sort of white or chartreuse color for those crankbaits. And then the Strike King Thunder Cricket. It is a great, what's called vibrating jig that catches fish all around the country, and I guarantee your intermediate angler definitely would appreciate that in their stocking. When it comes to clothes, of course, all the AFCO clothing that I mentioned in the novice level applies, the samurai shirt, the Reaper hoodie, but I'm going to mix in a few other things that as we get to these higher skill levels, we're probably talking to a little bit older of a age group that may actually appreciate some better looking clothes. And the cool thing about AFCO, I'll flash some pictures up here on the screen, is they make some clothes that aren't just functional for fishing, they look good. It's not your standard fishing brand. When someone thinks of a fishing shirt, oh, it looks like, some hillbilly wearing his fishing shirt. AFCO makes some awesome looking clothes. And so I would recommend the Barracuda GeoCool shirt. It's very similar in terms of SPF and sun protection as the Samurai, but it also comes with a very light buff and the hoodie. So it has basically every part of your upper body protected from the sun besides your nose, and you can even pull the buff up over your nose if you choose. I would say the Solitude rain jacket is a good lower priced rain jacket that is completely waterproof, and if your angler is spending more time on the water than your novice, I would say they're probably going to run into rain and wind at some point. And then if they like to dress up a little bit, I would say get them the Sirius short sleeve collared shirt, some really, really cool designs on the website, as well as maybe the Divot Polo. There's a lot of cool clothing that AFCO wears that you can wear fishing, and you can also wear to the business meeting or to church. So that's all that I would say for clothes. And of course, all the technology, as I mentioned above, applies here. So your Connect Scale, your Bass Forecast, and then I would also include a product called Angler. Angler is an online and mobile app platform that allows anglers to understand bodies of water better. So when they go out in their pond or their lake and they catch a fish, they can use what's called the Bullseye. That I believe is $29, has a 2-year battery life to it. It Bluetooths to your phone. When you press the button, it marks a catch on GPS and brings in all the weather and water data that has to do with that catch, as well as the tackle you were using for that fish. So it's basically a digital logbook. If your angler, every time he gets off the water, is taking notes on exactly what happened that day, so when he goes back to that lake next year, he knows exactly what to do. That problem is completely eliminated by Angler, and it is definitely an awesome membership that I would suggest. So with that said, that is the intermediate level, and let's move on to your expert. This is the expert level. This is your angler that has been bass fishing for 10 plus years, the person that is completely ate up with the sport of bass fishing, and in your mind, maybe I don't exactly know what to get this person, because you go over to their house and their garage is filled with lures. They got lures on the wall. They got lures in their pockets. Let's say you're someone's wife and you're washing your husband's laundry and he's got crankbaits that stick you when you stick your hand in his pockets. That's the kind of angler we're talking about here. And so I would say in terms of this experienced angler, I would get less things and I would focus more on your expensive items, just to show that angler that you are invested in what they care about. They obviously care so much about fishing, and so by giving them $105 things, of course can show love, and it does, and it's still heartfelt. But I would say by getting things in products and technologies that are more expensive for a singular item can definitely show them that you are invested in fishing along with them. And so with the reel, I would say to bump up a little bit in price. I would say to get the Lew's Tournament MP. It is a brand new release from Lew's that is the replacement for the Tournament MB, one of my favorite reels of all time. And that reel retails for $150. Or you can get the Tournament Pro for $200. And I have loved that reel. It is so dependable, incredibly smooth, and I can cast a spinnerbait a long ways with that. And if you want to, if you got a big budget, let's say you guys had a good year and you want to really surprise your loved one with a good fishing reel, I would go with the Lew's Hyper Mag. It is a $300 reel, which is definitely a high price tag, but it is by far the best reel ever used. It is in a league of its own. It is so smooth. It has very, very strong drag, and it is a slick looking reel. It is a chrome finish. It is made of a magnesium one piece frame body. It is an incredible reel. So if you're going to spend money, I would on a big piece of fishing equipment, I would say get them a Lew's Hyper Mag. And then when it jumps to rods, I'm not even going to increase the price of the rod for you guys. I would say get the TP1 Black. the amount of technology they have fit into that rod series is great. So I would say, spend more money for your experienced advanced angler on the reel side of things. The TP1 Black is still an incredible rod for $129. Now, when it comes to rods, for the first two categories, I'm guessing that angler doesn't have too many, so a 7-foot medium heavy may fit in their arsenal very well. But for an experienced angler, they probably have 10 plus rod combos, and maybe they already have 4 or 5 7-foot medium heavies. And so in any way you can, try to find out from them what type of rod length and action they want. So maybe they want a rod that's good for crankbait, so a 6'9" medium heavy. Or maybe they've started to throw a lot of topwater, so they want a longer, stronger rod, so maybe a 7'6" extra heavy. Maybe have one of their fishing buddies ask him for you. So say, hey Jimmy, ask my husband John what type of rods he would want in his fishing arsenal, and then have his buddy relay it back to you. You guys know what to do there. So with the line for that rod and reel, I would jump up a little bit in price from the Seaguar Red Label to Seaguar InvisX. Obviously, they're an expert angler, so they know how to avoid backlashes as much as possible. So getting them a more expensive fluorocarbon line, or even a braided line, maybe jump up to the Seaguar Smackdown braid, the stealth gray version in 50 or 65 pound. Those are two awesome braids. The Smackdown braid and the InvisX fluorocarbon are two great lines for your expert angler. And for those, the fluorocarbon, I would say 12 or 15 pound for those clear type lines. And then when it comes to baits, as I mentioned, everything is the same as before. Experienced anglers still use square bills. They still use the Ocho. They still use creature baits. And of course, they're still using the Thunder Cricket. They're still using 6XDs. But I would say throw a little more money into lures. So maybe something such as a glide bait, which is a longer swim bait that kind of glides through the water. I'll link a few down below that are my favorites that retail from $20 to $40, which may seem like a lot to spend on a lure, but for your experienced angler, they would definitely appreciate that. I'd say a topwater frog, so something such as the Strike King Pad Perch takes a little bit more skill to work and to learn. That might be a great one. Maybe the KVD Deep Diving Jerkbait. The Strike King Rage Bug is a great one as well for people that like to flip in trees and grass. And then the Strike King Red Eye Shad. And so as I talked about before, I would honestly get a few of these stocking stuffers, but I wouldn't get your experienced angler a ton of lures. I don't think you would want to waste your money on things that your angler might not like to use. So maybe my experience and recommendations here in Texas, in the South, don't work for your angler in Michigan or New York. And so I would say try the best you can to find out what they use. And if you can't, I would say focus more of your purchasing power on the rods, reels, and clothing. And when it comes to clothing, this is your angler that's spending tons of time on the water, so they're going to want the best out there. So as I mentioned before, it's all crossover. The Samurai hoodie, the Barracuda Geo Cool, maybe the Jason Christie hooded shirt. It is definitely the most technical and, in my experience, cool hooded shirt that AFCO makes that has sun protection. Maybe instead of some short sleeve, tech button-down shirts, maybe get some long sleeve ones. The Sirius long sleeve is a good shirt as well. Maybe you got a lumberjack in your family and they like flannel shirts. So I'd get the Buffalo Bill long sleeve flannel shirt from AFCO. And if they fish in a lot of cold rain, so if you're anywhere north of Texas, so if you're Oklahoma, Michigan, Minnesota, Tennessee, they're going to be fishing in a lot of cold weather. And so if you have the money to put into it, I would get them a very high quality rain suit. That is the bibs and the jacket, and the Hydronaut is the brand new one that AFCO just released that won Best of Show at the International Fishing Show. So that is what I would say for your experienced skill level angler, and that means that our list is done. So I hope this video helped you guys understand a little bit more about what to buy for your angler. My Instagram direct message and email is always open. If you guys have questions about maybe a specific angler in your family, I am a full-time YouTuber. I have time for this. I would love to take time to help you guys find out what exactly your angler might want for your body of water or wherever you live in America. So shoot me an Instagram direct message or an email, tylersreelfishing@gmail.com. I would love to help you guys out. And as I mentioned before, hopefully you guys made it to this point in the video. All of the links below have affiliate codes to help you guys save money, and the Tackle Warehouse code is a code that when you guys enter the site, it tracks your purchase to my account and it helps me make a living. The reason why I love Tackle Warehouse is because it's easy for you, and they have partnered with me as an influencer on Tackle Warehouse to help myself make a living. So the more you guys can purchase your lures and things through those links, of course, the more it helps you because you save money, and the more it helps me because it helps me put food on the table. And man, I'm just so grateful that I have this platform here to hopefully help you guys pick some great Christmas gifts for the anglers you love. And as always, thanks for watching Tyler's Roll Fishing. Subscribe if you guys are new here, and have a Merry Christmas. See you guys.